Good morning, friends. This is David coming at you from Zone 5B in the southwest suburbs of Chicago, Illinois. And happy Saturday. The weather here in Minooka, Illinois is beautiful. It's going to be in the 80s for the next few days, so we're finally getting out of the super hot temperatures. And the dogs are going crazy because they love it. Just to take a look at our deck garden, we have tomatoes growing, even in the small container, which is awesome. We have eggplant doing really well. There's a little baby eggplant growing right here. That tomato plant, the cutting, the sucker that I planted is doing really well. I actually have some carrots, and carrots seem to be my bugaboo. I just noticed a giant strawberry on my little strawberry container that I got from the Tractor Supply. And things seem to be doing pretty well. My lettuce is taking a turn here. I don't know if it's the hot weather or not. Lettuce is more of a cool weather crop, so I'm surprised it hasn't bolted, but the garden is still in full swing. This is lavender that I planted from seed, and it's doing really well. It was really hard to get it to germinate, but now that it's germinated, it is growing like a beast. And yeah, things are going really well. My onions are not doing really well. My baby chicken, hang on, Fro, this one, likes to sit in it and sleep at night. She does not like to sleep in the coop, and she has knocked it to the ground. So yeah, it's not doing well. Everything else is doing pretty well. Tomatoes, I've gotten a ton of tomatoes lately. You see a lot of splitting because we did have heavy rainfall. I did deal with blossom end rot on a lot of them, but some of my bigger tomatoes are starting to produce, which is awesome. My cherry tomatoes and my honeycomb hybrids are both doing well. And some of my paste tomatoes are starting to ripen on the vine as well. So it's really a good time. Excited about what's going on in the garden. Over here, my ground cherries that were devastated by the storm have bounced back really well, and they're just growing like a jungle. I have not gotten any ripe ground cherries off of that yet, though. And my corn, super high. I actually have a couple of ears of corn that I think are about ready to pick. My basil is a jungle. I have so many cucumbers growing, and I've already harvested a ton of cucumbers. Today I hope to start pickling some cucumbers and some of my peppers because I have so many peppers that are ripening. You see all the shishitos on these plants that are changing color and ripening. My banana peppers. So I am going to try a couple of pickling recipes, a sweet one and a dill one. My grapes are still doing really well, although they do have a ton of the Japanese beetle damage. My okra, my marigolds growing out of control. I do have some green beans on here, which is cool. It's my first time growing those. I do have eggplants growing. So everything is doing really well in the garden. As we get a little bit closer to the wind down time, we still have a lot of warm weather. So I do expect to continue to see production. My Brussels sprouts were kind of devastated. A lot of Japanese beetle and other insect damage. My broccoli is growing, but I don't think it's going to head up anymore. I did remove one head of broccoli earlier this year, and I need to clean up my garden. I do have a ton of mulch out front. I did chip drop at chipdrop.com, and they will deliver free wood chips to you by the truckload if you want. The problem is you can't be very picky about it, and they will deliver a truckload. They don't do smaller amounts. I think I donated $20 to offset the cost for the people who were bringing them. And I've been meaning to lay them along my garden beds. I did put down some weed cloth, but as you can see, weeds have grown around it. So my goal this weekend is to clean this up, get it weed whacked back, and then to lay that mulch and wood chips down. So we'll see how that goes. My squash, this was spaghetti squash. I had these two big squash that were growing on here, and as you can see, the vine is now dead. So I'm guessing down there, some squash vine borers or other insects got it and killed it. So I'm hoping that my spaghetti squash is still good and edible. Again, here's one of my ears of corn. I only planted, I think, 4 or 5 corn stalks, and I'm 5'6", probably a good foot taller than me. So if I get even 1 or 2 ears of corn, I'll consider that a success. And you see all the flowers on my cucumbers. So my cucumber plants are still just awesome. I do think next year I'm going to have tomatoes in the ground and my cucumbers more in the buckets to try to mix things up and see how that works. But you see my tomatoes did do really well in the buckets. I should have trellised them up a little bit better, because you see that one is not trellised at all. I didn't do a ton of pruning, so I do have some crazy suckers and side branches that a lot of people would probably have pruned off. This one is breaking off on me. I struggle to see if I can get it braced up, and maybe those will ripen on the vine. So it's been a really good season. I've been really happy with some of the tomatoes that I did get off of here. I did get a big Mamie Brown heirloom. I have gotten a couple of the big beefsteaks, and then some of my beefsteaks, like this one with the little baby growing out the side of it, didn't get that big, but it is heavy. It is very dense, and it looks like my chickens are getting on here and helping themselves to some of my tomatoes. Green tomatoes aren't good for animals, so I do try to keep them from doing that. But you can only do so much. So hopefully later today, I will have video of at least some of the garden bed cleaned up. Some of those weeds whacked to the sides. Oh, here's all my girls. Some of the mulch laid out to get that ground covered. Look at that pretty iridescent on the black Australorps. They are getting a lot more friendly now that so they do let me pick them up. A massive tomato, but again, you do see some chicken damage, so hopefully that will start to ripen before it rots. The chickens have kind of been a pain this year. And then up on the deck, I actually have the sunflowers growing still. I have tomatoes growing on the deck. Those are pumpkins coming out of the grow bag. I have okra there as well. Let's get on camera again. Hi, Fro. Fro is our Polish hen. She also happens to be one of the friendliest, but because of the hair in her face, she doesn't see very well, and she's pretty skittish. But she is my favorite chicken. Some carrots, and she likes to sit in that bin too, so I do have to remove her poop regularly. And then the greens on the deck are doing pretty well. This is broccoli that I need to thin down a lot. This is lemon balm, and that is Thai basil, which has a nice anise or black licorice flavor. I do have some herbs growing finally in this container, but what I want to show you is the crimson okra, which just looks beautiful. I haven't tried it yet, but it does look beautiful. And these are my pumpkin vines in here. So the pumpkins are starting to grow as well. I have a pepper and tomato as well. So you can really grow in all different sizes of containers. A lot of my strawberry plants are throwing out runners. And if you put a runner in the ground, it will become its own strawberry plant. So you kind of have never-ending strawberries if you do it that way. And I do have a lot of little strawberries growing on there that just need to ripen up. So yeah, things are looking up in the garden. I need to do a little maintenance. I'm trying to get this runner to start growing here, but I'm all out of garden clips. So I need to figure a way to pin that in there for me. I did plant a runner there. So yeah, we'll be back a little bit later with an update so you can see the work that I've done out in the garden bed, get that mulch laid out, open up my driveway because my son just got his first car. We ran out and picked it up for him today. So yeah, I will be back in a little bit with an update showing you what I did today before we leave. We'll see you guys in a little bit. Right, guys, I'm back. I just want to give you a quick update and to talk about. I went through with my weed whacker and I cut down the weeds and the grass that have been overgrown here. I do want to start throwing down my mulch, but I don't want the weeds and the grass to just grow back. So there are a couple of options. We can use weed barrier fabric, and that is the black plastic that you see that's already surrounding a lot of my garden walkways. And that works pretty well, but it's also a little fragile. So it is tearing in places, and it's not that old. Some of this I just laid down a few months ago. But another way that we can block a way that's cheaper, and you might have plenty of it in your house, is to use cardboard. When I was starting my garden beds, that's actually what I did as weed suppression before I filled with my compost and my soil. I laid down cardboard, I wet it down to help it decompose. That will decompose. It is good for the environment. It doesn't cause any kind of problems or issues. Worms can actually crawl up and eat it. And it did a really good job with the weed suppression in both of my garden beds. In fact, the biggest problem I had in my older garden bed here, my initial one, was the ground cherries that reseeded themselves because I missed harvesting. So I think I'm going to lay down some cardboard in a lot of the areas, particularly down here where my walkway wasn't wide enough for the weed barrier that I had anyway. I'll probably cut up some cardboard, lay it down, wet it down, and then I can start adding in the mulch and get my walkways covered. So I will be in a few hours when I have an update so I can show you the end results. See you guys in a bit. What I didn't realize is my microphone had just died, so I'm going to try to do a voiceover and let you know what I was saying. You know, friends, you know, there's a saying that Rome wasn't built in a day, and chances are that your ideal garden isn't going to be built in a day either, and it's really important that you show yourself grace during the process of gardening, or really during the process of any hobby. That large pile of chips that I showed in my driveway, I got back 3 or 4 months ago. I had ordered it through Chip Drop. I had big plans for it, and thanks to the hot summer weather and the rain and travel baseball and just general in life busyness, I wasn't able to get to it until today. And today is August 2nd, so it took me a long time. But it was really important for me to show myself grace, so I didn't get frustrated. I didn't get angry, and I knew that when I had the time, that project would be there waiting for me, and that time was today. So I wanted to bring you guys along for my last barrel full of my mulching project. I chose kind of a weird day to do my mulching project. It was 80 degrees, which was really a lot calmer and cooler than it has been. But I also chose a day when my son was away at church, and my daughter was at her friend's house helping with the birthday party. So I had to do this on my own, and honestly, it made it even more rewarding. It was hard work and it was hot work. I was sure to pace myself by taking a timely break in the middle, but I managed to get it done completely by myself. And it's hard to explain the feeling of accomplishment when you finally get a project that you've been planning for so long done, and it's the way you wanted it to be. So I'm going to pick up the tripod and show you guys around the garden and the finished product. This did take me a few hours. It was quite a few wheelbarrow loads. I do have a smaller wheelbarrow. Again, I did also try to pace myself. I laid the cardboard down along this walkway to help with that weed suppression, straightened out the weed barrier where I have that, and that's a good couple inches of the chips and the mulch over the entire walkways of my garden. The funny thing is, right here, my marigold has been growing out of control all season long. So as I was cleaning up and moving things out of the way, I found a huge surprise, and I'll show you what that was in just a few minutes. You see my potato bags that I had to move to keep my chickens out of them. Again, my peppers are just absolutely flourishing. I do want to try to get some of those pickled either today or tomorrow. I'm going to do some regular pickles and some sweet pickles. I'm more of a sweet pickle person myself, but my son will eat the dill ones. And my ground cherries here, even though they're growing and very lush, I haven't gotten to get any ripe ones yet. I do have some that look dry and haven't fallen off, like that one, but it's overripe and mushy, so I end up feeding those to the chickens. I do hope at some point I will get some ripe fruit to try off the ground cherries, because the ground cherries were some of my favorite things from last year. You see my peppers, my banana peppers, my shishitos are just absolutely out of control. So I really do have to either grab them and freeze them or get them pickled and preserved. So you see how my walkways look now. I did have to take off the hoop house for my new raised garden bed. One of the hinges popped on me when I was moving it around, so it is laying off to the side. But to me, it's a lot cleaner, and I think this is going to help with the grass and the weeds and the drainage, because on one side of my garden it doesn't drain very well in this area. My finished product, and I'm really happy with the way it turned out. Now over here is the surprise that I found under my marigolds, and it is one of the biggest cucumbers I've ever grown. That thing is heavy and it's long, and it's a really, really big cucumber. It didn't get exposed to a ton of sunlight because it was kind of tucked away under the marigolds, but I'm also hoping it didn't over ripen, which will stop the production on that plant. If it did, I do still have time to get another cucumber in there to take its place, so I can't wait to cut that open tonight as well. Tomorrow, hopefully with the help of my son, I want to remulch the tree lane here where we have all our fruit trees growing. I will rake up the mulch that I have down there, lay down some cardboard to help with the weed suppression, and then cover it with a thick layer of those wood chips as well, and maybe move some things around. Also, the trees are doing really well with the exception of that one blueberry plant next to my banana plant, which needs some nutrition. You can see the yellowing leaves on there. That is one of them I bought as a bare root from Tractor Supply, and it hasn't really been thriving. Again, there's that huge pile of chips from chipdrop.com. If you need a lot of mulch, give Chip Drop a try. You sign up, and they deliver when they have a truckload, and that's the only problem with it. You get a truckload. No more, no less, and then you need to tell them where to put it and disperse it as possible. I do want to throw some of that around my rose bushes as well, hopefully in the next day or so, and then I'm going to put a message out to my neighbors to see if anybody wants any free mulch or wood chips. It is from various trees. It's not necessarily good for a garden, but to do a walkway like I did, I think it was excellent. I think it would be fine around my trees and around my rose bush. Also, while I was pacing myself, I did manage to do some weeding because our rose bed was out of control with the weeds, so I did pick a lot of those weeds. So I really tried to make the most of the beautiful weather and the time I had. Guys, I want to thank all of you for coming back again and again and watching my videos. If you like what you see, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, share my channel so it helps my algorithm. I really appreciate all the views that I'm getting. I love making content, but it means a lot more to me when I know that people are getting something out of it as well. Remember to be like all these plants that we see and grow a little every day in some little way. Make the most of the weather and what time we have left in summer. I hope you guys get out there. I hope you enjoy your family, enjoy the outdoors, and I hope you guys will return here again real soon to come grow with David A. Thank you guys. See you next time.